Well, hello and welcome to the Profit Express. I'm Tim Healy, and I'm inviting you to join me each and every Wednesday so together we can win the battle for business. And that's what we do right here on the Profit Express. So as always, thanks for sharing some of your time with me today. Thanks for being on board. Now, if you're in the construction business in New York City, you know what kind of a dog-eat-dog culture it is, how physically and mentally demanding it can be, and how historically resistant to change it is. So you know that to create success in New York City construction, you got to be the kind of person who has grit, determination, perseverance, and of course, hustle, because we're talking about New York City construction. But what if you're one of the 10% of women in the construction industry? Well, I think the story just got a little bit more interesting. And that's why I'm super excited to have on today's guest. She's Jen Rennie. She's project manager for Whitestone Construction Corp, where she's a lead project manager for multiple New York City construction projects all simultaneously. And fun fact, among her many accomplishments and accolades, she was featured in 2024 New York Build as a Women in Construction Ambassador. So, succeeding in New York City construction in and of itself is an impressive feat. But when you're one of 10% of the population of women in the business, I think it says even more. Now, also, here's another thing. Don't let her 5'2" frame fool you, because she is a powder keg. So it's a real pleasure to have on board the Profit Express, Jen Rennie. Jen, how are you today?
Great, thank you. Hello.
Listen, I'm a sales consultant. I'm a podcast host. My hands are soft. I wouldn't know what it is to succeed in New York City construction as a guy, let alone a woman. And, you know, for the audience to know, you and I go back. Our sons went to the same grammar school, the same high school, and I've always admired you. You know, you're in this industry. You do it with grace. You do it with talent, but you're not to be underestimated. And I followed you, of course, on Instagram over the years, and I was thinking to myself, man, I got to have Jen on. You know, that powder keg I was talking about earlier, I know would make for a great interview. But more importantly, and this is what I know a lot of people listening would be interested to hear, how does a woman succeed in a male-dominated industry? That's why you're here today. So why did you end up choosing construction originally? Take us back to that point.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, then it shows my age, and I don't like to do that. Okay. Back way before, computers and all that other jazz that we have now. We did things like, drawing and, fun stuff like that. But back in college, I went to Suffolk Community College because I really didn't know what I wanted to do. A lot of kids go there and just kind of wander around. And I was very fortunate to meet a professor who realized that I had kind of some talent and came over to me and said, "Hey, what are you doing after class?" Which was a little weird, but of course I was like, "Hey, sure, what's up, man?" Like, where's this going? But so he says, "I want you to help me survey the underground water system," because I guess he was doing a project for the school. And I'm like, "Sure, whatever that means." So he says, "Do you have work boots?" And I go, "Sure." He says, "Do you know what I'm talking about?" No, absolutely not. I really don't. I mean, I like math. Okay, that's it. That's all I knew. So we ended up going to a boot store across the street in Selden. It's a true story. And I went and bought my first pair of Red Wing work boots for this underground survey. And the rest is history. I fell in love with it. And I was very fortunate to then attend Purdue University afterwards, and poof, now you've got all this knowledge, right? And it's really useless knowledge because what you're learning in college has no bearing on what happens here in New York City, right? So it's a big scam. Now I come out, it really is. I come out and I go get this fancy pants job as an engineer. and they send me out to Sag Harbor with a little clipboard and like, I guess you'd call it like a little counter on top of it. And I had to count the cars making lefts, count the cars making rights, and then report back 8 hours later.
No.
And I realized, oh yeah. And I said, this sucks. And that's, 80 grand down the toilet. And what the hell am I doing? So I go home, cry a little to the parents. There's a lot of crying in this entire story. So just be prepared. It's a lot of crying.
It's
so
okay.
I go home and I go to my parents and I go, well, not good. So my father says to me, why don't you find something else? So I said, all right, what's an assistant project manager? Well, I guess I'll figure that out. So I go a couple of days later on my lunch from the counting cars job, very important, making lefts. And I go in an interview and I'm like, oh, look at all these, papers and degrees and look how fancy I am on paper. And the owner was like, well, I guess we could hire you for an assistant project manager, but you got to meet the PM. And I went, oh, what's that? But okay, sure. Meeting PM. You got it. So he brings me into the back and all these men are back there and they all have plan tables and there's paperwork everywhere. And I'm already panicking. Okay. Panic is set in. I go into this man's room and I'm talking about Lafayette, Indiana, because I just came from there, and about the football team and Drew Brees and all the cool stuff that comes with Purdue University.
Yeah.
And we walk in and the man has his back to me and he's at the plan table and all he says is, no girls. And I go, oh, fantastic. Like I haven't even had a shot. You know what I mean? So I look up to the left and there's pictures of the same guy in a kilt with a bagpipe walking up and down somewhere important. So I say in my wonderful, socially acceptable, kind and loving, caring, person that I am. I go, you're in the skirt, pal, not me. He whips around and he goes, all right, I'll take her. So he hands me a set of drawings that were about this big. Now I've only seen, like the little drawings you get at school, right? So he hands me these drawings and he goes, by Monday, and hands them to me. So obviously I got the job. Yay. I went home and cried because I have no idea what's in those plans. And I spent 48 hours going through the plans to be completely destroyed Monday morning, being told, why did you go to school? You don't know what you're talking about. Tears, more tears. And that went on for about 6 months. And that's my mentor. I learned everything from this man to the point where when I was married, he played those stupid bagpipes on the bow of the boat that I got married on with this little skirt on.
So
that's a true story. Not a true story.
All right. So what I'm beginning to understand here in the story with Jen Rennie, today's guest, again, she's project manager with the Whitestone Construction Corp, that there's a lot of crying in the story so far. But as you were, and I'm going to say this, and I don't think it's going to insult you. So you walk into the office, the guy's back is turned to you. He hears that you're a woman, and he says, no women, right?
No girls.
No girls. No girls. Okay.
Yep.
What year was that?
2002, 2003.
Okay, so over 20 years ago.
Oh,
yeah.
Life's changed.
Not that long ago, but okay. So he says, no girls, and you have the chutzpah to see him in a kilt skirt on the wall, and you said, hey, pal, I'm not the one in this skirt.
Correct.
So you're an interesting character, Miss Jen. And we go from tears to chutzpah like that. Very, very interesting. Okay. So now we have the backdrop. You're in construction. You go to Purdue. You light up $80,000 for education you didn't really need. Your family, did they ever say, what the hell are you doing? Why are you getting into construction?
So I have to say that my family, thank God, has been in the industry way longer than most families. We go back to at least documented 1898 when my great grandfather was asked by Turner Construction here in Manhattan to come over from Italy and be a superintendent, which is, there was no such thing as a project manager back then. So the
Right.
superintendent ran the job site. So my grandfather, my great grandfather was that gentleman. His son was in the Army Corps of Engineers in World War
Oh,
II.
wow.
My other grandfather was a designer. So it was in the blood, but I don't think it was supposed to end up in Harlem, like where I am now. It's kind of like it's a big bridge, you know what I mean? But hopefully I have their knowledge in me.
So for those watching, they can see the backdrop. You're in a construction trailer. This is your trailer.
Yeah.
So now, since you have a trailer, is this like a Hollywood trailer? Do you have fruit and water every morning brought to you? How does that work?
I have running water. That's a good thing. Running water. I have a toilet, Yay.
Okay. All right. I see in the background
It's
your
home.
desk is held up by some 2x4s.
That's homemade. That's actually an extension because the little plan table that comes with the trailer doesn't fit a set of plans because why not? It's a construction trailer. So my guys built it the right size to fit the plans, right? You would think they would know because it's
Right.
a construction trailer that they're selling me. But so and even my little shelving unit, that's homemade. But you know what? It works and I love it.
Gets the job
I couldn't
done.
work in an office. I think I would shrivel up and die if they put me in an office. I don't think it would work. Plus, I'm kind of loud, like they need
Listen,
like sound barriers around me.
I know you, so I can agree with that. And then the listeners are saying, okay, yeah, I get it. Jen is not an office kind of person. So you've been in the business for over 20 years. Was there a day when maybe you were on a project, who knows, and you said to yourself, what the hell am I doing here?
Well, I think I said it to a lot of people because I completely lost it. So I think anyone within the realm of hearing me, heard me freak out. So I was on a steel project, very large steel, lots of steel workers, cranes, the whole 9 yards. And I was getting up the courage to go and speak to them to tell them that I didn't like what they were doing on the steel. And I just gotten one of the most amazing supers, again, one of my mentors, and we were walking through and you got the brand new hard hat and the brand new shoes, so you have a huge sign over your head saying college graduate, no experience, you know what I mean? Like, so I'm walking through and they're all up there and they're roughnecks, right? So they're all yelling at each other. And I do this little, I didn't even realize the voice that was coming out of me. It was such a little, like a pipsqueak. And I'm like, hey guys, like this little tiny voice. And he turns down to me and he goes, what do you want, college? There's another word that comes after it. And I was like, oh my God. And I just start crying, like just the tears. So the super panics because not that many people cry on a job site.
Yeah.
There's nuts and bolts and all this other crap all over the ground. And he reaches down and hands me 2 nuts and a bolt and goes, you're going to need these. Okay. Back to the trailer. And they are on the desk in my house for the last something years. And that super is another amazing man that I still call to this day when I have an issue. And if it wasn't for him and my own personal nuts and bolts and Ray screaming at me about being a woman, I don't think I'd be here. They really toughened me up. I became the person I am here from the panicking. Think about it, it's 25 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't have the movements that are around here now. There wasn't the equality push that you have now. We wouldn't even have Google. Like, we wouldn't even know what we were talking about, right? There's no way to look it up. So we were just in our own little world. And these guys were accepting in this little kid, with
Right.
with these big eyes panicking about everything. And, it was wild. It was a wild time, but thank God I had them in my life.
Two nuts in a bolt. Here, kid, you're gonna need these.
I have it at my desk at home.
That is classic, Jen. All right, let's take a step back. Everybody kind of understands, okay, a construction project manager. Give us a little bit, like, what are you doing on a job or on a project? What does that look like?
For me, it's the greatest job in the world. I just want to put that out there.
Mm-hmm.
This is everything that, if you want organization, problem solving, being in charge, having a loyal staff around you, a team work beyond anything you can imagine, that these guys would literally, you're putting your life in their hands. You're on scaffolding with them. You're under the crane. You're next to the machinery and the piles. All of those things. That's what I love. That being said, basically what I do is I'm in charge of everything, meaning, you're in charge of everything. There's nobody else to blame, right? So you have the entire field staff. Those gentlemen are actually the ones installing everything and working on the coordination. You're overseeing the coordination. You're handling the scheduling, the money, the buyouts of the subcontractors. When are the supplies coming? When is the concrete going in? Oh no, here comes an inspector. Oh wait, the owner's on the job site. Think of like a 3-ring circus. You're the guy with the little hat. Everybody's spinning on fire around you, and you have to be in charge of like the ticket sales, the fire extinguishers, and everyone screaming at the same time. And that's project management in a nutshell. Oh, and you're in the city, so that's going on around it. Well, and we work nights, so that's a little wild too. Throw that in there.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some interesting stories we might not cover based on New York City at night.
Yes.
So this is interesting. I mean, you created great visuals to what it is. You're like a 3-ring circus leader, if you will, which I love. It's a great analogy. So now I'm thinking about this question. I want to ask it carefully, I guess. So over 20 years ago, the women's movement, inclusion, it wasn't a thing. You had a very rude awakening with, your very first, experience with a guy who said, no girls and et cetera, et cetera. Do you think it's better it happened that way, where they threw you in the deep end of the pool, there were tears, but you had to start swimming? Or would it be better today when they would have responded to you differently because of how, the world works in corporate America? Does that make sense?
Yes. And I would say I am so fortunate to have what happened to me, because it was real and it taught me how to work with people before there were all the politically correct umbrellas over everybody, frightening everybody, right? We didn't have that back then. So basically, either you made it or you didn't. And if you made it, then you lucked out and you became successful. So it really is for the person who puts in the hard work and the time, and every time you get kicked down, you get back up again, and you fight and you claw your way out. Mm-hmm. That makes you the better manager. If you're handed it on a silver platter and said, here, all these other women did it, and now here you go, they're not going to understand. And then I'm seeing that then it becomes, instead of equality, which is what I want, and which I thank God I have, right? All these years together. Now I see it almost as a dominance thing, where women are almost coming out being like, we're in control, as opposed to, we want to be on your team. Because there are differences, right? There's when you have men and women on the job site, for example, I'm 5'2", so I can go down the scaffolding without bending down, because everything's made for a man who's 6 foot, right? So I'm just zipping by, the guys are kind of like behind me. So that's a good thing about being a girl. We also look at we're better at the whole picture way of looking at things, because we're also moms too, right? So we're used to having the kids and the job and everything else, so we can incorporate so many more things, and we bring different things to the table. Back then, the best of all the worlds were being put together. You might have butt heads in the beginning,
Mm.
but you found that true team where you believed in each other and you helped each other out and you worked off each other. You didn't point out like bad things about each other and like that corporate attack that you see, like almost like the game Survivor. I don't see that, because the groups that I'm with, we're from the old school where it was merit based.
So it's more like there's some baptism by fire, some initiation, but if you have the skills, and you did, then the respect starts to evolve, starts to come to the surface,
Right.
compared to having like you said, all these protection umbrellas, kind of forced down your throat. Okay. Now let's talk about a project. Was there a project that was just going miserably, circling the bowl, that you thought, oh my God, this is going to be a disaster, but you were able to resurrect it and ended up being a great success? Do you have an example like that?
Yes, I do. It's like one of those ones that kept you awake at night, but now you look at as one of your greatest projects you ever did. We had a medical center that we were building in Brooklyn, right off of Flatbush Avenue, and it was an existing nursing home. So why not add 6 additional buildings to it while the building is completely occupied? Because that's the most logical way to expand, and make it easiest, And remember, nursing homes are 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and there's nurses flying around and they're moving patients. And oh, wait, we're just breaking through 3 holes right here to get to the next building. Do you know what I mean? It was wild. It was a wild job. Now, I've done medical my whole life with educational, but this was the one that you were going back to the trailer and you're telling yourself, oh, this is not happening. There's no way I can do the 4th floor and not kill all their electric. And there's all these people on vent units and who's coming in, and oh, wait, there's dialysis center. We have to get that up and running. So it was a nonstop job. And then COVID hit. Because why not, right? Like just throw that in there. Yeah. So we were in the middle of COVID and we were told, oh, wait, you're doing a vent unit. So you guys are essential employees and you have to work 24 hours a day now to get this place open, because it's a children's vent unit. So why not add that into the mix? So it was the most difficult, the hardest to build. It was a coordination of 6 different buildings at the same time crashing in. So you had 3 buildings made out of steel and 2 buildings made out of concrete, 1 just made out of glass. Because why not? Just make 1 huge building in the front made out of glass that anything can go wrong at any waking moment. And then we had a little building that, they said it was not a big deal. Oh, it only had a green roof and we had to turn the dialysis on the 1st floor and keep building above it. It was the wildest job I've ever done. And then I got to stand there and it was the most amazing thing I've ever seen, turning over a children's ventilation unit, the first one in New York City. So I'm very proud to say that. Uh-huh. And gave 22, because it's 22 beds, we gave 22 kids the most beautiful place, because they live there. It's a 24-hour a day facility. Yeah. So we put the school for them inside there. We did the green roof for them for like birthday parties and to getting outside. And there were all these different themes inside it. And there was a rocket ship that we made. It was floor to ceiling. And we used to go off when the nurses went by it. And we had a fish tank the size of the PT room. It was just the most beautiful building I've ever put up, that to this day, anybody brings up medical, I'm like, oh, wait, I got a job to tell you about. And I just won't stop, I love that job. That was my, creme de la creme.
I'm getting anxiety hearing about how this all went up, by the way. I can't even handle it. Yeah. Some panic attacks. Yep. I also have to ask, were there tears involved throughout this process?
I would say that one, no, because the
come on, you cry over everything.
like I was crying in private at that point. Like,
Okay.
like I learned to like channel the crying when no one was around. It wasn't just directly on the job site, you know? And I think I've learned to like channel that fear into true anger, which is probably not good for people around me, but it looks better to yell as opposed to cry, you know? So,
It's,
but that job was amazing. And the people that I built it for, they worked in the existing nursing home. So there was no room for error. So if they heard, a piece of steel moved the wrong way or a truck
right.
was delayed, there was like 20 to solve the problem. They're walking toward me and they're like, "Hey, do you know what happened?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, it was like 3 minutes ago." But it was a wild job. And I gotta tell you, the most amazing owners I've ever worked for. Oh my, I still keep in touch with all of them. It's a
Wow.
very good community.
So it's New York City construction, the dog eat dog world, the hustle, and creating success as a woman who's 10% of the workforce. Obviously, male dominated 90%. Jen, let's say you're at a barbecue over the summer. You have a neighbor who introduces you to her niece. Niece hears what you do. Niece is interested. Wow, that sounds kind of cool. What do you talk to this young woman about? What it is that you do?
Well, if they ask me what I do, usually the first question I ask is, "Do you like math? Do you like problem solving?" Not puzzles, problem solving that
Mm,
no one else has an answer to. And they usually go, I think so. And then I say, "Do you like to work outside? Do you like to be in charge and tell everybody what to do? Do you like being in control? Do you like being on a team?" And then you start seeing the girl like, "Oh, yeah, I play this sport and I like to be in control." And I'm
right.
like, "Do you want to make money? Do you want, like I ask questions like that. And then
Yeah.
usually you see the girl get excited. I'm like, I do all that. And my job gets to change maybe every 4 to 5 years. I get to go to a different location in the city. I get to do a different project. I don't have to work in an office. I don't get stuck in that, like an accountant, nothing against accountants, but if you're
Right.
accepted into an accounting firm, you're there for 25 years, preferably in the same, 100 square feet, right? Your desk
Yeah.
pretty much, you know what I mean? So I get to go from Brooklyn to the Bronx to Queens to Manhattan. Like I'm all over. I can go to Long Island. You know what I mean? Like you basically see the city. And if you see the girls pique her interest, and I tell them, I'm like, there is a community that you can get into where you can be yourself and you can have fun, and it is so exciting. And the being on a team is the greatest thing in the world. And then once the girl starts asking, I tell them I build buildings. It's literally a piece of immortality. I
Wow.
have a bridge that I did before my 30th birthday, that every time my poor son, every time we drive over it, I'm like, "Oh, this is my bridge." He's like, "I know, Ma, I know." But you get
It's
to
true.
see it's you left a
Yeah.
legacy. And like now, you go outside and you're like, I built that school, I built that medical center, I built that hospital, I built that college. It's a piece of immortality, and it's fun. The job is fun, it really is.
So, do you want to see more women in it? I mean, are there women it's not right for? I mean, you're obviously proud of it. You love it. Um, is there, if a woman comes to you, how would you know that it's not right for her? Where would it be a
Well,
situation where you say maybe this isn't for you?
I think when I've met a few, and that I've again, because you have to be politically correct now, right? Everything is, even as
Yeah,
a
no,
woman
yeah,
to woman, there's a lot of funky stuff going on now. But I've met a couple of them who are, I think they would be better either if they're an engineer to be more in the design team, or
hmm
as an architecture team, or they would be better in the less hectic life of the field, because you'll meet
Okay.
them and they'll already start, the complaining begins. And it's not just girls. I've met guys that I've been very kind, like, hey, it is going to be dirty. Yes, you're stepping in a puddle. Like, you know what I mean? It gets to the
Right.
point where you see the arms go out when they're walking and they're like, oh my God. And I'm like, oh man, you're not going to make you're not going to make it. You know what I mean? But I try. I really do. And you have to give the person more than one shot, because what did I do? I was crying under the steel, right? So
Right.
that was my first shot. They probably would have thrown me out, right? So you have to give them a couple of shots. But after a while, if you see them, it's, oh, this trailer's cold, or I got to sit in this chair. And it's rough. It's a roughneck job. It's blue collar, 100%. 100% blue collar.
Wait,
even though you have a white collar position, it's blue collar.
I gotta ask. So you have somebody like that who's new on the job, and maybe they're shadowing you, right? You're taking them around, showing them the ropes. Do you have those 2 nuts and a bolt in your pocket to pull it out and show them, hey, this is what you're gonna need? Is there any of that?
I can't anymore. I had it up until because I had someone say to me, that's not appropriate. And I was like, oh. I'm at that age now where I'm like too old to be cool. So I'm just like, I'll just put them away. Like, sorry about that. Like, but for many years, like when I was on the bridge, that had already happened to me. And when I was on the bridge, you're dealing with dock builders and you're attached to the side of the building. Oh, it was just one of the coolest jobs I ever had. That story was so big that I brought them to show the guys. They thought that was hysterical. But as years go by, now you kind of be like, this is, I hope, an industry that will not be destroyed with the cotton walls and cotton floors that we all have to kind of walk through to make sure we're not affecting anybody. This job is, you're surrounded by real people, a lot of people who this is their second chance. This is an industry that allows people who made mistakes in their past, a lot of them being either legal or issues like that, that they did their time, they moved on, and now they're here to start. And I want them to start. And if you can't be around that type of person when they're getting their second chance and really excelling at it, that's probably not for you, because the last thing they want to see is you getting all, worried like he's going to do something, and he's not. He did his time. Let him do what he needs to do here and prove himself. And it's that we're loud. It's not just the people loud. The job is loud. Like, I'm surprised you haven't heard the 400 sirens going by. And I mean, it's a loud job. Right. So if you like more of a quiet, you want to put your earbud in and just kind of phase out, and this is not the place to be. You need to be. I've seen it. I see the kids coming up now, and they're talking to me, and they got an earbud in, and I'm like, is it me? Who are you talking to? Because I'm too old now, right? I don't know how to do that. So you can't be that kid. You got to be coming in, and there's a couple of them. There's one right now that I work with, and he's got the 1990s, like you said, chutzpah. He's got it. He's be a PM in the city, and you can feel it, and you're like, yeah, but some of them, you're like, oh, thank God you got that engineering degree and you can go count cars, But they're just not going to take it, I mean, and there's a lot of classes you have to take here. Like, it's not like they let you have your college degree and then you get away with it. I mean, holy cow, there's safety and there's management and there's supervisors and all these licenses and titles and cards. And so you also need to want to be here, because that's all being done in your spare time. That's not like something you're sitting in an office, listening to a class. I mean, you're doing it on the weekends, and, you need your scaffolding stuff and your asbestos abatement. Like, it's a lot. It's a lot of classes.
Well, like you said, the 2 nuts and a bolt, teaching tools might not always be as appropriate. But listen, I'm just saying, as the host of the Profit Express, those are some of the best lessons in life. Okay, you know what?
They are.
Call it what it is. Because listen, you had that moment. You're in tears. That guy. Listen, you're gonna need this, Jen. Here you go. And you're like, okay. And basically, the way I saw that whole story, and even the guy who said no girls, and then you had the chutzpah to say, well, you're in a skirt, pal. It's at those moments where you have the fork in the road.
Yes.
And either you're like, okay, you pull up your big boy pants. Pardon me, I'm the guy, so I'm saying the big boy pants.
No, but see, I'm okay with you saying that because I'm not one of them. I'm like, good, it is. Put them on.
Or big girl pants. We could have big
Whatever,
girl pants.
man. Just put them on. Put your pants on.
But it's in those moments, and you know, I'm not a woman. I'm not 10% of an industry like you are. You know, and there's a lot of industries like that. I have a lot of clients in finance and also male dominated, although beginning to change. But it's just that at that moment, you make it or you don't. That's what it comes down to.
Correct.
Now, let me ask you this. So you've been in the business over 20 some odd years. If you had a career do-over, what would it be?
All right. So to non-project managers, this might sound like snarky, but I really don't care because I'm a project manager, right? So we don't get a do-over. We don't get to live through regrets. We are literally the shooting from the hip, everything's on fire, answer the question now job. Think of it like stress level 100. So if I say, well, I wish I did this, that's just bad project management. If you screwed up, then you got to find the solution. So I'm sorry, I can't say that I did something wrong. I could say I made a misjudgment and then we corrected it by doing A, B, and C. But maybe other careers you can be like, well, I changed to this, or I can't do that. I am literally the last line of defense. By the time the question comes up to me, it's been through the team itself, the foreman in the job site, superintendents, it's been through the general superintendent, the owners are poking around at it, and you usually are asked that question with 20 people watching you. There's never one guy really quietly in your office going, hey, is this a good idea? It's not. It's usually standing on top of the concrete. The concrete's pouring. You're standing on top of the rebar. There's rocks flying, and they're like, we forgot to do the X. And you're like, oh. And then you have about 80 seconds to come up with an answer. And if it's good, thank God. If it wasn't, you better find a solution, and you better find it fast because the next truck's coming.
So, Jen, I asked, that's just one of my favorite questions to ask, you know, if you had a do-over, right? And I've gotten all sorts of different answers, obviously, over the years of the show. I've never had somebody say, we don't do do-overs here. I've never had that response to that question. That's an interesting one. I like that. That was very good. Now, I got to be honest, Jen. I knew, again, like I said earlier, our sons went to the same grammar school, high school. We've known each other for a number of years. And, you know, my wife, Carrie, I say, you know what? I'm thinking of having Jen Rennie on the show. And she's like, really? She's like, wow. She had to say, you know, because she knew it'd be a great show.
Thank you.
I didn't know it'd be this good. So,
or bad, you never know. You might get the censors to be bleeping stuff out. It's not over yet.
Yeah. Well, a show like this could have gone one of two ways. It would have ended my podcast, or we'd go viral together. You know, it'd be fantastic. One of my best ever. 50-50. Yeah, either way. Either crash in flames or we soar. That's it.
That's right. I agree.
Yes. I think you might have answered this earlier, but I want to ask it in the form of a question again. I'm a believer that there are specific differences between men and women, and those differences are what make us uniquely special. And I do a lot of work. I have a lot of clients in financial advisory, and there's statistics out. If there is a woman, they call producer groups, a group of advisors together. If there's a woman or women on that team, they're statistically more successful. Those are numbers. That's black and white. So now, what is it that you think, what's the value a woman adds in your world? This is project manager in the rough and tumble world of construction.
Okay. I don't want to be seen as a woman. I don't want to be seen as somebody trying to be a man. I want to be a true leader, someone who creates a pack of people around them that can move mountains together. I am very fortunate that over the last 20 something years, I've put together some amazing teams that I still keep in touch with. Thank God I get to work with. I happen to have somebody on my team now that I've worked with in the past 20 years ago, and he's one of the greatest excavation guys in the world, and it's just amazing. I think if we start breaking it down, especially in construction where there's so few of us, I don't want to be, that's the team with the girl on it. I don't like that. I want to be the one that, oh man, I worked with Jen Rennie before. Oh man, she's hysterical, or she got it done, or she made us a ton of money, or I also bring snacks. I like, I'm known for my snacks. I'm constantly feeding them, so that might be helping as well with my little Hello Kitty napkins, but that's another story. You got to bring in some femininity, you know. I like to be that. I want to be on the team. So if I bring something as a woman, I mean, I guess I'm supposed to say like kindness and thoughtfulness, and that's not, I don't want to do that. I want to be, I want to be on the team with the best super, the best labor foreman, the best masonry foreman, the best assistant project manager. I am a project manager. I'm not a female project manager. So that's what I want to be. I want to be the one that, thank God, we just got an invitation to bid and was told, that team you have, Jen and Lenny and, you know, the guys, that's what I want. I don't want, hey, you know that girl that you hired? Then I didn't do it. Then I came across as a female first. I mean, I am a female, but I'm saying I don't want to come across like that. I want to be the best PM in medical and educational that's so good that you don't care who or what she looks like or he looks like, just that name. I want it to be that name. So that's more important to me than the female thing. And that's 25 years of that. It was tough when I got married, right? So like, it was like, I did like 6 years at Di Tommaso, so it was really rough. I had to go to Rennie, right? So I'm staying Rennie forever, no matter what, right?
Right.
Now all my licenses are in Rennie. But I want that, I guess it's fame, right? Or not, people know who you are for a good reason, thank God. But I want them to be like, oh man, Rennie's team, yeah, they're the best. They solve all the problems. That's what I want.
Perfect. Well, like I said, this show is going to go one of two ways: down in flames, or is going to be one of the greatest ever. And I'm leaning towards the latter.
I'm hoping, man. I'm hoping. I think that as a woman, as a mom, as a New Yorker. Oh, wait, let me say it like I was trained in voice and diction when I cursed on C-SPAN, but that's another story. I had to take voice and diction. Remember, I told you that many years ago. I'm from New York City. How's that? Is that better? I can do it if I really, really try. But as that I want to build, right? I want a team around me to build. I don't care what it is. If you want me to build a doghouse, a high rise, a bridge, a tunnel, I'm there.
Right.
That's what I want. You know what I mean? Like,
I get it. So listen, I've had a blast. That's all I can say.
Me too.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and I respect anybody who works in the construction industry. Like I said, hey, I'm a sales consultant, sales trainer, podcast host, right? So I love talking to people who are in different industries I respect that I really don't know anything about, and then when I get to talk to a woman who's created the success you've created in this business, it just makes for a great story for anybody listening, man or woman. So. Thanks for keeping it real. Thanks for bringing the humor. I mean, you knocked it out of the park. And listen, just keep kicking ass and taking names because that's what Jen Rennie does.
They better or else, right?
Well,
and I was
listen.
really good. I didn't curse, right? I didn't yell. So this is like a good day, right? I mean, it's only it's only halfway into the shift, but so far so good.
Right. I'm surprised you didn't curse, but you could have. It's okay.
I tried so hard. You have to.
I thought I saw beads of sweat, on.
I'm dying. I'm going to get off this podcast and say so many curses just to fill in my hour. Like I there's a certain quota that I have to hit, and I did not hit it. So
you're detoxing. You got to detox on you drop some F-bombs, right?
Exactly.
Awesome.
I'm lucky, man. I am in the best place that I could be ever. I love what I do. I love the people around me. I'm building New York City. Who else could say that? I have pieces of immortality all around me. I'm lucky, man. And it all started from Ray yelling at me while he's in the damn kill. Oh, see, there's the curse. I'm sorry. I tried.
No, damn doesn't count.
But, that's what it is. And I have so many people that were with me when I wanted to get my super's license. And I said, should I do it? I had a group of guys tell me, yeah, go for it. These guys have been there since my son was born. When my son was born, both of my mentors, the super Kurt and the project manager Ray, held Sam within the first 6 hours of him being on this planet. Like that's how tight. Yeah, that's how tight these teams are. That's how tight.
All right, so I got one more question.
Go for it.
So obviously Ray was the guy wearing the skirt. Okay.
Yes. Ray's in the skirt and Kurt's the guy with the nuts and bolts.
Oh, they're bookends. It's great.
Yeah.
Let me ask you. I know Ray in some of our own conversations.
They're my two mentors.
Yeah. So in some of our conversations over the years, I've obviously heard you mention Ray a number of times. He's obviously somebody who's been very important to you. I want to wrap it up this way. What's the one thing that he taught you, told you, shared with you that's had the biggest impact?
Oh, man, I'm so happy you asked this question. This is something that I've told way too many people, but it's so important. I was walking through the job site, the steam fitters. It was a assisted living building in Lynbrook, and they were putting in something called pre-cast concrete. It was really big stuff going on, cranes, the whole 9 yards. And, you got the wide eyes when you're walking through because you just came out of college. And there was a guy walking and he was sweeping. And I walked over the broom. It's true. Like, I guess, extremely rude looking back on it, but you're not really paying attention. You're looking around and he stops me and he says, "What are you doing? Are you that important?" And I go, "Well, what are you talking about?" And he goes, "The guy with the broom is just as important as the man that owns the building. Don't ever let yourself forget that. You're not that important." And I was like, oh, I felt horrible. I turned around to the guy and said, "I'm so sorry." And he goes, no, it's okay. That was the most important thing that I had ever learned in construction, is that the team that you have literally starts with the guy walking around the job site cleaning up with the garbage bag. Because if he doesn't clean up, safety is going to come and shut you down. It's not the fancy owner, because those come and go, right? Every couple of years. But that guy with the bag and the guy who's putting in your brickwork, and he's sweating and carrying the brick up and down the scaffolding and just beating the hell out of his body.
Yeah.
That guy is the most important guy on the job. You're just the team leader, like you're the manager. You didn't actually build it. Don't fool yourself. And that's what he would tell me. You're just pushing the papers around, Jen. Can you lay the brick? And I'm like, oh, absolutely not. I have no idea how to mix mortar. But that was the greatest thing, because now fast forward 25 years later, especially during this politically correct world that we're all so thrilled to live in, you know, it's like hold your breath every few seconds. So now you've got people coming in with the entitled team, right? You see these kids coming up that are entitled. So they're doing what I did 10 times more, right? They're literally pushing past these guys. And it is so good in my soul, because Ray passed. I know that I'm reinforcing something, because I'm like, yo, probably, you know, more words come out, but you can't do that. You can't speak to people like that.
Right.
And that creates a loyalty. And it's reciprocating loyalty, right? Because if you're showing respect, they're going to show respect. And then before you know it, you have a team of 30 guys, hopefully some girls too, right? So you have 30 people that are in the trenches with you, and it's 11 o'clock at night, and it's dark, and it's, you know, it's freezing cold, or it's boiling hot, or whatever. You're with these people for life. And then Ray also taught me that when you're building something, get to know the neighborhood. Don't just go in, build your building, and get out, which happens all the time. I see this with all the new project managers. He told me, go to the local bodega, get to know the guy selling food on the side of the road, whatever circle that you're in, like a block radius.
Yeah.
Learn where you are, which is the greatest. First of all, as I said, snacks. There's a lot of really good snacks in New York City. I mean, and usually the best food is some guy with like a shopping cart turned sideways, and like it's the greatest food I've ever eaten. It's just eat it, right? Say hi to the guy who's coming out of his house, because you don't belong there, right? This is their home. This is their neighborhood. You're putting scaffolding and loud noises and dust in their neighborhood for 3 years. Go check out, say hi, go, you know, be a human.
Yeah.
And that way you can work in the craziest neighborhoods, the wildest neighborhoods, the most richest, fancy, posh neighborhoods. It doesn't matter. You show respect to the people you work with and the people that you're building around and for. Yeah. And that was Ray. And he was a Marine from Vietnam. He was a tough cook. Oh my God, everything he said was so tough and yelling. And oh my God, I can still hear his voice. But he was right. Don't be an asshole. You know, just be nice. Be nice. You know, just be nice. Right. And now, after this, I'm going to go to the corner bodega and see my guys and get my Diet Coke and hopefully snacks. And, you know, and there's a deli 2 blocks away with the greatest cupcakes that we bring to the job site every couple of weeks. And just don't be a jerk.
I love it.
To anybody. You know what I mean? That's right.
Jen, listen, thanks so much for being on board the Profit Express today. Clearly, without a doubt, one of my most unique and interesting conversations here on the show. So I want to thank you for that.
I hope to God that's good.
No, it's great. It's fantastic.
Oh, geez, thanks a lot.
No, listen, you know how many best-selling authors I've had on the show who it's like watching paint dry sometimes with these guys? Just because you can write a book doesn't mean you can communicate and do a great show, you know?
But not everybody has the fluorescent lights of death that they burning down on their heads in their meetings.
With the steel grate over the window. I mean, that's character.
Well, that's like a safety thing, but it's screwed on from the outside. So if anybody wants to break in, they just got to bring like a screwdriver and you're rolling. There's certain things in these trailers that you definitely are made in an office somewhere with no concept of reality. That happens to be one of those safety features.
So you can get in, but you can't get out.
Pretty much, yeah. So, when we come in the next day, we'll be like, yo, what's up, man? How you doing? Want some coffee? I'm about to put it on.
Oh, God. Listen, Jen, thanks so much for being on board. Keep doing what you do. I mean, you're a tremendous inspiration. I love the conversation.
Same here. Thank you.
All right. And this is the Profit Express. Thanks so much for being on board. Thanks so much for sharing some of your time with me today. And grit, determination, perseverance, hustle, that's the common denominator for so many of us, whether you're a business owner, whether you're in sales, whether you're a project manager in the city. And then when you add that special flair of being a woman, and what if you're one of the 10% in a male-dominated industry making a difference? And that's somebody we spoke to today, a woman who is 10% of an industry who's making a real difference. And she just wants to be known as Jen, the woman who makes a difference. Until next time, this is the Profit Express.